In the last few days, if you take, there was some technical issues. So today I have used an alternative method for you people to teach the online classes. So welcome for the online classes. See, in today's class I will be discussing the syllabus of second PUC biology. If you look in the first PUC, you had around 5 units covering around 22 chapters. But when you see in this year, the second PUC, you are having 5 units and 16 chapters. So first PUC, second PUC ಎರಡು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪಿ ಯು ಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ 22 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಿ ಯು ಸಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ 16 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್. If we analyze the content of syllabus of first PUC, the number of chapters is comparatively more in the first PUC than second PUC. ಆದರೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PUC ಬಂದಾಗ content, the chapters is very less when compared to first PUC. ಆದರೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪಿ ಯು ಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಡೆಪ್ತ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೆಸ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಿ ಯು ಸಿ syllabus depth is more. Whatever it be, you have just finished the first PUC and you have entered the second PUC. So in the second PUC, all the 16 chapters are very, very interesting. So now let us begin about the syllabus in the second PUC. Now, as I told earlier, the second PUC we are having around 5 units. The first unit is called the reproduction. Second unit is called genetics and evolution. The third unit is called biology in human welfare. The fourth unit is called ecology. So ನಮ್ಮ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಿ ಯು ಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಟ್ಟು 5 ಭಾಗ ಇದೆ. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆಸ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ reproduction, second genetics and evolution, third biology and human welfare, fourth biotechnology, and fifth ecology. If you look in the first unit, the reproduction, it is covering around 4 chapters. If you look in second unit, it is covering around 3 chapters. If you look in the third unit, it is covering around again the 3 chapters. But if you look in the fourth unit, which is called biotechnology, it is just covering 2 simple and very interesting chapters. And if you look in the last unit called ecology, they are covering around 4 chapters. So totally among the 5 units, they will be covering around 16 different chapters. Now I am going to discuss about the units and its chapters. In the unit 1, which we call as the reproduction, it is having a 4 chapter. The first chapter is called the reproduction in organism. Second chapter is called sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. The third chapter is called human reproduction. The fourth chapter is called reproductive health. So ಯೂನಿಟ್ 1ರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಕೆ ಒಟ್ಟು 4 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರು reproduction organism, second chapter sexual reproduction flowering plants, the third chapter human reproduction, the fourth chapter reproductive health. Now we will discuss each chapter very briefly. If you come across the first chapter, the reproduction organism, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ some of the definitions, the meanings of the term like reproduction, lifespan, the clone, and apart from this, types of reproduction, phases of life cycle, events in the reproduction process. If you come across the second chapter, we have to study the structure of the typical flavor, structure of anther, and a very important process from the point of the examination. It is called microsporogenesis, and structure of organization, and a process called megasporogenesis, development of female gametophyte, pollination, how to breeding device, pollen pistol interaction, artificial hybridization, double fertilization, embryo formation, formation of fruit, and special mode of reproduction. It is very interesting. This topic is very interesting. ಯಾವುದು sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Though it covers a volume of content, but it is very interesting to learn about the structure of anther, gynoecium, megasporogenesis, the pollination, and number of simple content. Now we will come to the next chapter called human reproduction. Here we have to study about a very basic events that takes place during the human reproduction. A very small concept. Secondly, the anatomy of the male and female reproductive systems. It's very interesting. Number 3, you have to know the menstrual cycles, about the concept called the pregnancy, the concept called placenta, concept of lactation, and some of the few simple concepts here. If you come across the 4th chapter called reproductive health, here you have to study a concept with respect to the a very simple concept. It is called in the chapter 4, just called the reproductive health. ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ reproductive health strategies and population explosion and different types of the birth control. Okay, ಇದು regarding the unit number 1. ಇವಾಗ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ 2 ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಯೂನಿಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ 2 ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ 3 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್. ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ some of the very basic technical terms. It's very important. Secondly, you should know what is the genetics and the branches of genetics. And next, you have to know about a very famous person who is known as father of classical genetics. His name is Gregor John Mendel, and his two simple experiment which we call monohybrid cross experiment and dihybrid cross experiment, and the output from this experiment which we call them as law. There are around 4 types of laws here: law of dominance, law of recessive, law of independent assortment, law of segregations. Apart from this, a simple concept regarding a test cross and back cross. Plus, in addition, some concepts which comes under deviation of Mendel. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ incomplete dominance, codominance, pleiotropy, chromosomal theory of inheritance, linkage and recombinations. Plus, in addition, a concept called sex determination and pedigree. Apart from this, Mendelian disorder, where you have to study some of the disorder like hemophilia, color blindness, sickle cell anemia, phenylketonuria, and thalassemia. The next concept is chromosomal disorder. There are 3 chromosomal disorder here. They are very important from the point of the theory examination. ಯಾವುದಪ್ಪ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಡೌನ್ ಸಿಂಡ್ರೋಮ್, ಕ್ಲೈನ್ಫೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಸಿಂಡ್ರೋಮ್, ಟರ್ನರ್ ಸಿಂಡ್ರೋಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್. The next chapter is called molecular basis of inheritance ಅಂತ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ a very basic concept which you have studied in the first PUC regarding the structure of DNA and structure of RNA. DNA RNA ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ they belongs to a family called the nucleic acid. So you have to study the composition, the structure and function of both the DNA and RNA. ಎರಡನೇದು, there is a concept called DNA as a genetic material, and we have some experiment to prove this one. Next, replication. In the replication, you have to study about the semi-conservative type of DNA replication here, and there is an experiment to prove this that DNA exhibit a semi-conservative mode of DNA replications here. Next, simple concept called transcription, post-transcription modification, translation, genetic code, regulation of gene expression. ಅಂದರೆ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ we have a concept called lac occurrence concept. Plus, in addition, there are two important concepts here: human genome project plus DNA fingerprinting concept. Okay, this is regarding the content present in the molecular basis of inheritance. The next chapter in the unit number 2, it is called evolution ಅಂತ. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಫಸ್ಟು ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ನಂತರ there are two important core concepts in this which can summarize the entire content of evolution. ಯಾವುದಪ್ಪ ಈ ಎರಡು ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟು ಅಂದರೆ, origin of life and evolution of life on the earth. Origin of life can be studied through a simple theory called Big Bang theory, and evolution of life on the earth is studied by several theories here along with some evidences. Apart from this, we have some key concepts here. They are also important from the point of the exams: adaptive radiations, Hardenberg law, and origin and evolution of man. Okay, this is about the content present in the chapter called evolution. The next unit, it is unit number 3, which we call them as biology in human welfare. Okay, in this unit we are having around 3 chapters. The first chapter is called human health and disease. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಮೀನಿಂಗು, ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಓಕೆ, ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್, ಪ್ಲಸ್ some of the common diseases as per the NCERT. So we have to study about number 1 like common cold, typhoid, pneumonia, malaria, amoebiasis, elephantiasis and ringworm disease. Apart from this, we have some very important concept now. It is regarding the immune system. Next, regarding the HIV, AIDS, its mechanism and the life cycle and the preventive measures. Next concept, cancer. The next, adolescence, withdrawal syndrome, drug and drug abuse, effect of tobacco smoking and its prevention. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ, ಇನ್ ದಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್. ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎನ್ಹಾನ್ಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲೇನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ದ ಡೈರಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಪೌಲ್ಟ್ರಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಬೀ ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್, animal breeding and different methods used, plant breeding, the different methods, biofortification, single cell proteins and micro propagation method here, which comes under the chapter called strategies for enhancement of the food production. The third chapter, it is regarding the microbes in the human welfare. See, in the microbes in the human welfare, you have to study some of the simple concept regarding how the microbes are used for the benefit of the man. So, ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆಸ್ ಪರ್ ದಿ NCERT syllabus ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅಂದರೆ, you have to study the microbes in household products. That means how the microbes are used for the household. ಎರಡನೇದು microbes in the industries. ಮೂರನೇದು microbes in the sewage treatment. And number 4, microbes in the production of the biogas. And number 5, microbes used as a biofertilizers and as a biocontrol agents. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ, in the chapter called microbes in the human welfare. The next topic, it is the unit is unit 4, which is biotechnology. In biotechnology we have two simple and interesting chapters. The first chapter is called biotechnology, its principles and process. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕು ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ, we have to study some of the principles and techniques used in the biotechnology. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ the tools used here. The tools can be recombinant DNA technology, it can be the enzymes, it can be the cloning vectors and competent host. Techniques ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ, we use a technique called gene cloning, we use a technique called the creation of recombinant DNA, we use a technique called gene transfer. And in the chapter they have given a term called the process. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, there are some steps followed in the recombinant DNA. ಯಾವುದ್ಯಾವುದು? Isolation of genetic material, amplification of gene of interest, cutting the DNA at specific locations, insertion of recombinant DNA into cell, culturing of host cell and obtaining foreign gene product, and downstreaming process. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ? in the unit number 4, chapter number 1, in the biotechnology principles and process. ಎರಡನೇ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಯಾವುದದು? It is called biotechnology and its application. In this chapter we have to study the applications of the biotechnology in the field of agriculture and in the field of the medicines. I am going to use some terms here. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ insulin production, gene therapy, transgenic animal, bioethics, biopatent ಅಥವಾ biopiracy. These are the simple terms which comes in the chapter called biotechnology and its applications. Fine. The next chapter, the next unit, it is unit number 5, the last unit. ಈ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಈ ಯೂನಿಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಓಕೆ, ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ಗನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ we have to understand the term ecology, we have to understand the term environment, we have to know the 6 levels found in the ecology. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ individual, population, community, ecosystem, biome and biosphere. ನಂತರ we have to understand what are abiotic factors with some example, and response to biotic factors. ಅಂದರೆ abiotic factors ಫ್ಲಕ್ಚುಯೇಟ್ ಆದಾಗ, ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆದಾಗ ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಟರ್ಸ್, ಕನ್ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್, ಮೈಗ್ರೇಷನ್, ಸಸ್ಪೆನ್ಷನ್, ಹೈಬರ್ನೇಷನ್, ಈಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್, ಡಯಾಪಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸಿ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ in addition we have to study adaptations with some example, and population attributes, the characters, the terms like natality, mortality, population density, sex ratio, distribution, population dispersion, population growth and models. And last in this chapter it is regarding the population interaction. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ mutualism, commensalism, commensalism, parasitism, predations, competitions. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಬೇಕು ಯಾವುದು? ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ. ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಓದಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ದ ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಫೌಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪಾಂಡ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, energy flow and its mechanism, food chain, food web, ecological pyramids, ecological successions, and biogeochemical cycles. ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ in the chapter called ecosystem. The next chapter is the biodiversity and conservation ಅಂತ. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ we have to know the meaning of the biodiversity first. ಎರಡನೇದು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ. ಮೂರನೇದು ಪ್ಯಾಟ್ರನ್ಸ್. ನಾಲ್ಕನೇದು ಸ್ಪೀಷಿಯಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ರಿಲೇಷನ್ಶಿಪ್, ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಒನ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್. ಫೈನ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್, ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್, ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್, ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್, ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟಿವ್ ಮೆಷರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮೆಷರ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ಡ್ ದ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಫೌಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ 16 chapters. Now, I will just give a glance of all the 16 chapters. ಯಾವುದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್, ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಫ್ಲವರಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್, ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್, reproductive health, principles of inheritance and variation, molecular basis of inheritance, evolution, human health and disease, strategies for enhancement of food productions, microbes in human welfare, biotechnology, its principles and process, biotechnology and its application, organisms and population, ecosystem, biodiversity and conservation, and last but not the least, environmental issues. So, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PUCಯಲ್ಲಿ there are 5 units covering around 16 chapters. Okay, so this is regarding the introduction of syllabus. Now, I'm going to tell you very important thing now. See, online classes are totally different from the offline classes. In the offline class, we usually use one method for the teaching. There's a blackboard chalk method. ಆದರೆ in the online classes ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ we are having around 15 different methods to teach you. But I have chosen around 5 different methods to teach the biology. Okay, the first method is called blackboard method. ಎರಡನೇದು ಪೇಪರ್ ಪೆನ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಮೂರನೇದು ಪವರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ನಂಬರ್ 4 ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕ್ಲಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ನಂಬರ್ 5 ಆಡಿಯೋ ಕ್ಲಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಈ 5 ಮೆಥಡ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. And these 5 methods, all the 5 methods cannot be applied for all the concept. If you come across a blackboard method, it is used to teach some complex concepts. Paper pen method, it's applicable for almost everything, for all the concept. PowerPoint method, it is usually applied for the concept which is having more of diagrams. Video clipping method and discussion method, this is a method where we use to teach one concept which is little complex in nature. Audio clipping method, it is commonly used. Okay, I will be using all these 5 methods to teach different concepts. Fine. Next ಬಂದಾಗ so requirements to be taken by student during online classes. So ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ we need a phone, we need either a tab or a phone or a laptop or a desktop connected with internet. And ಎರಡನೇದು we require one earphone if necessary. And It also requires one paper and pen. Online class does not mean just listening and just seeing the video. It is something where you see the video, you listen the content and make the points of the content on the paper. Next, what should a student do during online class? ಒಂದು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ನಡಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಾವುಗಳು? ಸಿ ಆಸ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಬಿಗಿನ್ಸ್, ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಶುರುವಾಗಿದ್ದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಬೈ ದ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಎರಡನೇದು, ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಒನ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್, the lecturer is going to give some assignment and you should write the assignment and should submit the assignment as per the schedule. So if you follow these steps, it will be very fruitful for you. You get to learn the concept. Okay, in my next class I'm going to start the actual class. I'm going to take the chapter on the reproduction in organisms.